Yay! I shattered the windscreen straight away. First tool I put in. Morning guys, welcome back to the channel, DTTV. When's it summer? It is Baltic. Right. So, update from last week. I've done nothing. So, what I have done though is I've purchased a windscreen removal tool. So, we'll see how I get on with that. I got some fresh bolts. These are 4. Those who watched the last video on the engine build, remember I used these bolts here which were incorrect. So they're the correct spec ones. But before they go in, I'll send them off for zinc coating. So I still need to get round to this out of the way. Oh, brilliant. All at the floor. Get them in this box, and as I've said a number of times, need to get these the wire wheel on those and get them sent off for coating, zinc plating. There's a few in here that will need redoing as well, so need to go through them at some point, but that's kind of boring stuff, which is why it's not been done. So today's challenge, I've only got a few hours before we go and pick up a roast, so we'll see how we get on. I'd like to try and start removing the windscreen, taking the doors off, a boot lid and a few other bits. But first of all, what I'm going to do is get the cover off, see what we're looking at. I might take the rear boot lid off first because I think that should be pretty straightforward, he says, and then I'll have a look at drilling the holes and putting these rails on. So yeah, let's make a start anyway. Yay! I shattered the windscreen straight away. First tool I put in. Well, great, fucking great. So yeah, that's probably why they get specialist companies in to remove windscreens. I mean, I'm sure I could probably pick up a second-hand windscreen for not too much, but to be honest, I did see a photograph of when Warren put it in and how much putty or the sealant that was put on there, so I knew it was going to be a bind anyway, so it's going to be a lot quicker to get it out now anyway. So yeah, well, there you go. Probably best to pay a professional to do windscreen removal, but never mind. Boot lid's off, rear lights are out, fuel cap's out. I need to drop the fuel tank, just trying to make it as light as possible. So yeah, I need to what I'll continue to do is get that windscreen out, because glass is obviously pretty heavy, and I'll see if I can get into here to remove this door, and then have a look at drilling the holes in this to mount up onto the front, because if I can at least drag the front in and get the front lifted up onto there and then work on the rear. So yeah, let's get this windscreen out anyway. Bloody thing. I'm glad I paid for these removal windscreen tools, because that was well worth the money. Prick. Okay, update. So those who watched previously the previous episodes of the build will know that the previous owner, Warren, cut this cowl, a lot of the metal cowl off there, and it didn't look great, to be honest. He built like a carbon cowl to go on it, but I want more of an OEM one. So in order to resolve this, I had to cut this section out. Unfortunately, it meant there was loads of weld spots, so that's what you just seen me do, remove all these weld spots along here. So apologies to the neighbours, I've been using the drill and banging around for the last hour. This side I've managed to keep this corner piece in, whereas the other side I haven't. So I don't know if Ford are going to stock these anymore, but I'll need the replacement triangle section there and a new cowl. Now if Ford don't stock them, I really hope they do. If they don't stock them, I'm going to have to try and take one off another car which is in good condition, or ask somebody brakes Cubers if they'd remove them for me. So yeah, we'll have to see about that. Still a little bit annoyed about the windscreen, but what was I expecting? It was bound to happen really, wasn't it? I'm just a bit annoyed that I paid 20 quid on the tools that I'm not now going to use, so never mind. What I need to do still is remove, I mean, you can see how much sealant has been put on there. There's no way it was going to come off easily. So what I'm going to do now is spend a bit of time removing all of this stuff around the edge so it gets it all off. Take these three out. You'll also have seen we've taken off these other metal sections that hold different bits and bobs in. I've realised now that this one, I'm worried that one of these might have been for the windscreen wiper motor, but they'd all been cut up and they weren't looking great, so they all needed to come off. So if I do need to replace one of these, I'll replace it with a full unit and just get it welded back on, but that's looking a lot smarter along there now that they've all been taken off. So that's more for the scrap. So yeah, I've got to go out shortly to pick up the roast. That's what we're doing every Sunday, is having a takeaway roast during lockdown. So yeah, I've got to go do that soon, but hopefully before I go I'll try and take this edging off. I am really keen on getting the shell up on this spit, but I just thought it'd be easier to do this bit outside while it's a bit messy. I also need to take all of this off here, so that's probably something else that's probably better done outside rather than in the garage making a load of mess. As you can see here, this covering, but I've got those new Super 1600 arch liners which will be cut in and going in here, so let's take these off. You can see that they've had lots of paint over the years. How's the rust looking? It's still solid, it just needs taking back, so that's a good sign. So that'll just need stripping back and protecting. This off. It looks like it's had a bit of a whack here. Generally not too bad. A little bit of rust there, and they're two joined, but it's still solid. It's just surface rust, so that's a good sign. So yeah, this, I've been looking into soda blasting and dipping, but the problem is it's so expensive. But with all the layers of paint on here, I don't quite know how I'm going to get an amazing finish unless I get somebody to come out and soda blast it. I'll talk you through some of the prices I've got back, perhaps at the end of this video. Go through the prices and the positives and negatives from doing this soda blasting compared with dipping, and the costs associated with them, because it's going to be pretty difficult to get this all stripped by hand. So yeah, I'll go through that a bit later on in the video. For now, let's see if we can remove this edging from around the screen before I have to go and get our roast. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today is the 28th. I think last time I did some work on the car was the 7th of Feb, so it's been a while again. Just been a bit lazy really. I've been a bit busy on the weekends doing other things, but anyway, we're back to the car. Last time you saw me, I was removing the windscreen. I've got up to here, removing the last of the silicone, so I'm going to continue to remove that off. You'll see me finishing that off now. I'll then be looking at getting these doors off. I've never removed a door before, so it'll be interesting to see how these come off. I assume it's the pin, you knock the pin out and obviously the door will come off that way. So what I might have to do is move the Racing Puma out of the way, move the van out onto the road, move the Racing Puma over, and then give me more access to the car, because the idea is, as I'm sure I've mentioned at the start of this video, is to drill these and get these mounted to the car as well on the rail, so I can get it up on the spit. So yeah, let's chat in, let's just start cracking on with it and get this rest of the windscreen out so I can move on to doing the more interesting things. Right, I'll tell you where I'm at. Well, I'm pretty pissed off the fact that I can't even get the doors off at the moment. The pins that you can't open the door in a minute, but the pins that you have to knock out in order to get the doors off, these two, are causing me a load of hassle. I've also been looking around the car, looking under the sill, which I'll show you quickly now on this side. The fact that the rear arches aren't fitted correctly, and they all need sorting out in this region here, they really could do with being taken off and removed. So I'd have to look at probably taking them off anyway. And if you look on the underside of here, the shell's pretty bloody rough, to be honest. So I'm thinking I might just get a new shell. The only thing that stopped me from wanting to do that in the past was I was thinking hopefully I could save this shell. And the other main issue is I didn't want to take out the cage, because obviously it's a fully welded in cage, and I'd love to have the cage again in another car. So I think it's going to be easier for me to cut out the cage that's in here, which would be a pain, but I still think it's going to be less work than any other route. So I'd have to cut all these welds out. I don't know how the cage is not going to come out in sections, so I'd almost have to cut the whole, do you know what I mean, dismantle it fully in order to get it out. So then it begs the question, is it worth me then refitting the cage? I really want to keep the shells, I really do, but see here, there's rust underneath. The shell, this doesn't fit on properly, it doesn't meet in the bottom properly. I've got the issue with having to replace this and the corner piece there. This here, this massive mess would all need resolving, whereas if I just get another shell That's a Puma with a blown up engine with a clean shell. Strip it, then I've got a fresh start, haven't I? And then all the panels can be better. Then I can remove these two from here and bond it onto the other shell. Remove the braces in here. That'll be easy enough to cut out and put back in a new shell. And it means probably a lot less work and prep as well. As you can see, I'm really struggling. Well, the other thing is, if I got a new shell, I'd have all the components. So instead of making it into a rally car or just a race car, it'd be a fast road car. So I could put back in the OEM stuff, if you like. So I could keep the heater, maybe even the radio and stuff like that. So, and just have the cage. So it look like a, not like a GT3 RS where it's got the cage in and that, but it'd just be a fancier road car with the cage in, which means you stiffer chassis, keep it light to take out the sound deadening, but maybe keep the carpet in. I just think this shell is a lost cause, and I'm really gutted about it. What I'm going to try and do is still try and get it up onto the spit, which means I can take a look further at the underside. But where I'm at the minute, and the fact you can pick up clean Pumas for like 300-400 quid, it would mean getting another Puma here and fully stripping it down in order to get to the shell. But I just honestly believe it's going to be easier for me to cut out the cage, cut off the rear wings, because that's just the only reason why I kept the shell, as I would have replaced it earlier, is because of the cage and the rear quarter panel. So yeah, don't really know what to do, but anyway, I'm going to try and struggle and get this up on the spit if I can. It's nice to get the Puma out anyway. That cover's pretty good, but somehow dust does get underneath it, so we could do with a clean. It's nice to get her out looking pretty smart still. So yeah, it's a shame, because I mean, look at it looks great, the cage and everything in it, but I just think realistically I've got to reshell it. I mean, look at all of this here as well. So the likelihood is what you're going to see me do is put it on the spit and then I'll reassess it all. And then probably what I'll try and do today is take these quarter panels off and then figure out, speak to somebody or get people's advice on the best way to remove the cage, figure out which is the minimum way I can do the least amount of work to get the cage out. And once the cage is out, I could even then get it powder coated in the RAL colour that I've got, and then where we have to re-weld it in, and I could touch it up with some paint. I don't know if that'll work too well, but that's an option as well. So yeah, let's try and get it on the spit. If I can't do that, I'm going to work at getting the rear quarters off, because this is just, it means I've wasted quite a lot of time doing other things. But I've got to be realistic about this, and the shell's not great, and if I can get a better one for the amount of money and time and effort I'm putting into it, it makes more sense to get a fresh shell. So yeah, there we go. Well, that's about the most redneck shit I think I've ever done. However, I managed to get the front on. I mean, as dodgy as you like. But, hey, gotta work with what you got, haven't you? Okay, the rear is going to be a lot more difficult. I'll probably have to get help getting it up that high, but at least the front's on. The more I look at the underside, the more I think I need to reshell it, but there's something in me that's saying not to, and to just keep this shell and persevere with it. But I mean, look at this, and there's the holes in here, and the amount of work that's going to be required. Whereas if I get a solid shell, it'll just mean moving the I say just mean moving the cage in, but then the more I looked at the cage as well, look at the sections that there are. There's absolutely loads of it. So I'm just gonna continue to try and get this on the stand, get it up away in the corner, so we'll put it on its side, and then assess the situation a bit more. I want to keep the shell. That would be great, but I haven't got the fabrication skills to do these repairs, so unless I just slowly train myself up, which could well be the option to go for. But anyway, rabbiting on again. So let's see what I can do about getting the back up and see how close I can get it. But yeah, I'm sure the neighbours absolutely love that view. So I'm not quite sure how, but I managed to get it on the spit. However, I'll give you a little run over it all. You can see where it's been jacked up so many times in the wrong spots, it's damaged these bits. Here doesn't look too bad. But the other issue that I mentioned earlier is that the rear floor pan's been cut out, which isn't great really. Structurally, even though it's got a wool out of the roll cage, there is quite a lot of rot in the way. That is in fact the sorry, the battery died again there. Where was I? At this end. So jacking points, all the metal here is damaged. The thing is that this would be fine if it was just to go rally. Well, it would be fun if you wanted to go rallying and just beat on it, but now I want it as a nice fast road car and I'm going to all this effort. It would be a shame not to do it to a high level, if you know what I mean. So this is rotted through here, this is all damaged here. You see it's been jacked up, it's rotted all the way through here. As I mentioned before, the rear arches aren't fitted completely flush and smooth, so they don't look great. The windscreen cowl needs replacing. It's just quite a lot of rot on it really. So this is the point where I was saying about it's not been fitted that well. That should obviously be smooth like it is on my Racing Puma. As you can see, that blends in nicely there, whereas that other one sticks out. So what I think I might well be doing is removing this panel, this whole section, and the other side, and then either I forfeit just not having the cage anymore, or I look to take it out and try my best to get it installed in another one. It's just a little bit depressing because obviously if the shell had been better, I would have been able to keep the cage and not do that work. It's just balancing out what's going to be more work. I think this is going to be too much work compared to taking off the rear quarter panels, because I've got to take them off anyway to refit them because they're not fitted very well. So whether I take them off and fit them back on here or a different one doesn't matter. It's just the cage, and that is a huge thing for me because obviously the cage, it just looks great. It's part of the history of the car, but it's just everything's just so jacked up and damaged. So yeah, what you're going to see me do is, now I know I'm not going to be keeping this shell and I'll just scrap it, is I was going to take off the fuel tank to do, but that's all damaged. So if I'm buying a replacement car, that will come with all the spare bits. Hopefully I can find a decent Puma which is in good condition, hopefully garage, for a few £100, which the engine's blown up or something, so I get it as a bit of a bargain. So in the meantime, because I won't rush to buy another car, I'll wait until the right one comes up. But in the meantime, what I can do, which I'm going to start doing probably now, is take off these rear quarter panels and have a look at removing the cage. And if I do that before I get another shell to start redoing it, I've still got all of the panels that I need to start prepping and working on. So there's no reason why in between stages, whilst waiting, I couldn't be working on the bumpers, the wings, yeah, and just get them all prepped for paint. because there's still lots to do in that with that regard. So I am absolutely gutted, as you can probably tell, about the shell, but it's just too much. It is too much. It's too. It can be repaired, but it's just too damaged to get it nice again. So yeah, that's it for now. So that took a little bit longer than I thought it might, but there we have one super rare, sorry, I'm messing around with the camera at the minute, one super rare Puma arch. Let's just look on the inside, there's too much yet. Let's have a quick check. Yes, please. There's a bit of surface rust on it. Huh? Yes, please. There's a bit of surface rust on it. It's not too bad, Nick, actually. You can see where there's a couple of places where they put a couple of spot welds. They used little sheets of metal to infill the arch and make it join onto the other one. And there's the bond. But you can see where the little welds for the damage slightly. But I reckon I'm going to strip this back right back to bare metal and prime it. I'll use all the stuff to clean off all the rust, etc. Fortunately, what you often see is this section all rusted and rotten. Now it has gone a little bit on the edge there, but I think I can save that. So I'm going to treat that and clean that all up. Now I wasn't too sure, you know, I was umming and ahhing whether or not to reshell it anyway. However, on removing that arch, take a look at that in there. So no matter what level I went to, unless I completely stripped all of this out, which would be basically the whole car, I was always going to be fighting rust. So it might last 10 years, 5 years, and then all of a sudden the rust would come through. I mean, this is, as you can see, look. So I need to find a low mileage Puma, hopefully one which has been set in a garage, perhaps with a blown engine or something, for a few £100. I just want a really solid shell. I don't really care what's on it. I don't care if it's a 1.4. Just literally a decent shell with good arches and hopefully not jacked up too much so all the points are fine on it. The other advantage is I will have a complete boot, which I'll be keen on having. I'll speak to somebody about removing the cage. I'll probably do the removal myself, get some decent tools to get the cage out, and then because I've not welded, I could get a welder and practice myself, but what I think I'll probably do is pay someone to fit it. So yeah, so I'm unhappy and happy in a way, because I've managed to get that up onto the spit, which I didn't think I was going to be able to do. I'm gutted that the gel's not going to be the right, however I want to do it properly, and this is the way to do it. The rear arches weren't fitted properly, so when I refit them, I'll make sure they're as flush as the Racing Puma. I'll make sure they're decent. I will take some measurements off this car to see whether they actually cut in here, to make sure it joins, because they had that space in between, whereas I would quite like to find the correct width and join it in properly and weld the line in properly. So yeah, I've been at it for quite a few hours today. Started about what, 11:30. I think we've got 5 now, so a good few hours. Because as I said, I haven't done anything at the start of this video. It'll be the 7th of Feb, and we're much later on than that now. So yeah, happy with that. Let's get this panel into the garage. Let's have a little tidy up. Put the boot over here, and I'll put the cover back over the car. But yeah, pretty successful day. So that's going to be it for now. I'll try and edit this video tonight and get it uploaded for you. If it's not tonight, it'll be tomorrow. But that's just going to be all for now. Thanks for watching.